안녕하세요, 미경입니다. 오늘 할 게임은 The First 3라는 게임으로 위쳐3를 하자고 했는데 왜 이걸 하냐? 힐링이 필요하다고 해야 하나? 잘. 자, 그러면 시작해보도록 하겠습니다. 설정은 적당히 맞춰놨고요. 그 그래픽이 좋아서 로딩이 딸리면, 아니 프레임이 딸리면 그건 뭐 그때 가서 생각해보는 거고 뭐 근데 지금 울트라하이인데 프레임 괜찮은데? 아닌가 이거 컷신이라서 그런가? 이 게임 들어가면 좀 떨어질려나?
Are you awake? I thought I heard you get up.
꽤
Yeah,
좋네.
I'm awake. Sorry, I just can't sleep.
Are you thinking about him?
Yeah, a bit. You should get back to sleep, my love. I'm fine.
No, it's okay. What else is on your mind?
I don't know, it seems weird, but I had one of the most vivid dreams of my life. I saw a fox on a snowy mountain, just looking confused and worried. Those eyes. I can't get those eyes out of my head. She was running in the windy snow, looking for something.
Do you think it has to do with you and what's been going on?
I don't know. It was just a dream, Rachel. They're not meant to make sense. A lot's happened the past couple days, that's all.
Well, if you're not going to sleep anyway, you should tell me. I want to hear.
All right.
지나가는 줄 알았죠. 왜냐면 보통 이런 류라고 해야 하나? 더블 점프 못할 것 같이 생겨갖고 더블 점프가 가능하면 왜라고 해야 하나? 근데 그래픽 진짜 평화롭긴 하다. 근데 이쪽으로 가는 게 맞나? 맞겠지?
So, not far from her home, she followed that path to something unexpected. She couldn't stay, though. She had to find her other two children. So she took that path. She followed it towards something ancient. Something with answers.
The Burst Tree. 비 내린다.
The fox looked high and low, searching for any sign of her cubs. Points of light showed the way to this ancient tree. It was as if each one had a story to tell, all their own. The land was trying to tell my story, too. I felt like I was right behind her the whole time.
저는 뭐 스토리인 줄 알았는데 아 이게 점프를 누르고 바로 점프를 눌러야 더블 점프가 되는구나. 떠있는 중에 떡점이 안 되네.
Wasn't he like a lumberjack?
That's one way of putting it. If wood was a canvas, then a carving knife was his paintbrush. Even after working a 50-hour week, even after his hands were more splinters than skin, he would bring home the nicest piece of Alaskan weeping cedar and make me toys. That wooden train was the first toy I can remember, and I loved it. I just knew from a young age I was going to be a lumberjack, like my father.
내가 지난 친구 없지? 저쪽인가? 이건 가이드라인이 없다 보니까 내가 유추해서 가는 거잖아. 뭐야, 방금 뭔가 사운드가 바뀐 것 같은데. 이쪽이 맞는 것 같다. 로딩 하는 거 보니까. 구름. 경원이도 따고 싶어.
My teenage years were full of sketching, angst, and trouble. I wasn't popular or unpopular. Maybe just forgettable. I guess that gave me a sense of freedom. So I hung out with crazy kids, doing crazy things, even though I mostly just watched the chaos ensue. We did it all. Put fireworks in mailboxes, hide roadkill in people's garages, break windows of the barber shop in Anchorage. My dad was furious, but he was so busy working he couldn't do much to stop me from going out.
I think being an adult means there's no one to stop you making hard decisions. He had to make a living, and he couldn't be in two places at once.
Yeah, I realize that now. But at the time, I was sure he was more interested in growing his business than what was going on with me. He was working another late night, and my friends were over, saying how bored they were and how they had come all the way out to my house for nothing. One of them mentioned how that old, ugly beyond belief truck was still in the garage, and how we should take it for a spin. I was only 15, so I kind of fought it for a while. The next thing I knew, we were careening around the mountain path, rocks spitting onto the sides of the cliff, while my dad's cringeworthy bluegrass blared out the speakers. I drove while my friends were in the back of that yellow and purple truck, throwing beer bottles and trash at anything remotely interesting. Felt like I was soaring in the air with borrowed wings. But all good things have endings. A cop outside of Eagle River pulled us over after he saw us send a bottle rocket into someone's yard. What followed was a long night of talking to disappointed adults
나비장식품이다.
and feeling smaller than ever.
아, 한 번 크게 점프해 주는 거구나. 오케이, 오케이. got it, got it. 넣어주고. 더블 점프. 데스. 아이고. 됐어. 웽. 호나. 아! 아, 나비. 아, 나비가 중첩이 되는구나. 그럼 나비 모아야겠네. 일단 천천히 여기를 갈 때 점프가 필수니까 그다음에 점프 하나 먹어주고 하나 더 먹어주고 이쪽으로 올라가서 쭉 떨어져서 3개 넘어주고 이쪽으로 가져옵시다.
My friends would laugh about that night and talk about how crazy it was, and I laughed along, pretending it didn't bother me. But it did. I imagined my friends growing old in the bush, unable to find that thrill in those godforsaken ice fields. It's like those mountains were a literal wall, keeping me from leaving, where all I would have to look forward to are lumber yards and evening beers.
형!
I had to climb over.
됐어.
That was my only goal for a long time. If there was some way I could take my love of drawing and turn it into a way of escape, nothing would make me happier. I wanted to create instead of tearing trees down. I wanted to move to the lower 48, not because I hated it there in Alaska, but I hated the idea of it. It's like all of that spite inside me had created this monster which followed me around my whole teenage years. I put so much energy into doing what others didn't expect of me. Why did I do that?
There's one fact you're forgetting, though. If you didn't have that fire in you, we probably would have never met.
You're absolutely right. Maybe the destination is all that matters in the end. But then why am I awake? Why am I seeing this fox go on her journey? And why can't I stop thinking about my dad?
나무의 지구가 땅
Even at my most distant, at the times when I detested him the most, he kept reaching out. For a year straight, he asked me every week when we were going camping. I thought he was just dense. Eventually, to shut him up, I agreed. We carried out the worn lawn chairs from the garage and set up a cinder block campfire at the site we'd always used behind the house. We walked down the mountain path, talking in the warm sunshine we only got a couple months of the year. Those 3 obsidian rocks shimmered alongside the shore, almost like sparklers pressed against a dark window. I'll never forget that wet stone on my feet, or how those massive mountains looked even bigger in the lake's reflection. I felt small, but grateful. As the sun set, my dad found something I hadn't seen for a long time. The tree where I'd made my first carving when I was 6. I hadn't even carved it. My dad had helped me, but I still called it my tree. Something about seeing my name there made me open up, and we talked about everything that night in that old camouflage tent. I told him how much I loved sketching and design, and how it would be a dream to study architecture in Seattle. I told him how I didn't get along with my friends much anymore, but that I didn't mind being alone. He told me he was there for me, and he joked that if all he had to do was write my name on a tree to finally get me to talk, he would have left me carved logs with novels on them in front of my room every morning. I don't know why it took me that long to realize it, but it was then I knew how much he had sacrificed for me.
어딘가를 못 찾겠자. 하나 더 있다. 괜찮아? 아니, 에바야, 바위 어딨어? 아포. 저건가?
On our property, there were old abandoned pieces of a shed and car long left unused. I used to ask him all the time who those people were that left all this junk, and I'm sure he got so tired of hearing it that he made up some elaborate stories how a brown bear ate them and haunted the woods afterwards. What's funny is I think it made those people seem more real. Growing up thinking they were still hanging out like they couldn't say goodbye. I used to tell my friends how I could swear I saw spirits move near the water, and that always freaked them out. I guess it didn't bother me, because the way I saw it, they were normal people with old cars and sheds, just trying to figure out how to survive and be happy in the middle of nowhere. It was a cool thought that they didn't want to leave, but you know, I was a weird kid.
Well, you had good company since those ghosts like living in a place where they were brutally devoured.
여기부터 가야겠네. 점프를. 아, 미끄러지다. 아이, 그만해. 아이, 더블 점프를 꼭 써야 되나? 하나, 둘. 그 다음에 됐고. 더블 점프, 점프, 그리고 여기서 점프, 됐어. 흑요석이다. 또 활성화시키는 방법이 뭘까? 아, 들어갔을 때 눌러야 되는구나. 그 다음에 마지막 하나가 어디 있느냐인데 찾으면 다음으로 넘기면 되는 일이고. 오, 찾았다. 오, 이렇게 구석진 곳에 숨어 있었구나. 그래서 내가 못 봤구나. 아무튼 찾았으니 다행인데 이거 어떻게 올라가는 거지? 여기서부터? 아닌데 여기서 점프를 하더라도 닿지를 않을 것 같은데 다시 한번 시도해보자. 닿을 것 같아. 하나, 둘. 응, 안다. 응? 여기 들어가는 곳이. 아! 끼꼈어! 뭐야, 이거 어떡해! 야! 빠져나왔다. 오, 깜짝이야. 와이! 그만 껴! 흑요석은 다 해치웠는데 다른 게 있네? 잠깐만, 지금 내가 몇 번 찍었지? 24분? 그러면 하나 정도는 더 파헤칠 수 있겠지.
We were happiest underneath the evergreens. We decided it was time to finally map out the hundreds of acres we lived on, just to pass the time during the summer. He was only free in the evenings, so I would spend the day wasting time on dial-up internet and sketching, and then we would rush into the woods, pen and map in hand, before evening fell. Sometimes, the aurora borealis would cast a cold green glow on the mountainside, and we would finish our route underneath a twilight sky. Sometimes I was lonely during those summer days, but there was comfort in the routine.
A lot of teenagers aren't looking for the daily grind, though. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get out, to leave your childhood home. You wanted to progress, to make something of yourself.
Yeah, you're right. That house. I'm sure it's the same as how I left it. But then why does it feel so different?
I doubt you're the only adult to have looked back and asked that question.
15분. 그럼 오늘은 여기서 마치겠습니다. 시청해주신 여러분 감사합니다.